Okay, I am going to do a few jobs today. I know I'm going to Orlando. I'm going to Brooksville. I'm going to Orlando. And I think I'm stopping in the Villages. The other day, I was going to do a video of like a typical day, an average day. And I'm really glad I didn't do that video because I essentially spent, I don't know, there's just been a lot going on lately, and I spent a lot of that day crying, just really crying, which sounds weird because I'm not really a crier, and there's just been some really hard things going on lately, like my grandmother, the last grandparent, she died a few weeks ago. She had her 91st birthday, and then she died like, I don't know, a week or two later. I'd have to go back and check, because following that, my stepdad had a heart attack, and that was a week and a half ago. And currently, so he was in a coma following the heart attack. My mother did CPR. She was there. I had told her just stay with him that day because he wasn't feeling well. Anyway, blah blah blah. He was in a coma. Now he's in a vegetative state, but neurologically he is progressing. It's just very slow. So he's still in the ICU right now, but he's going to be released from the ICU into another facility, and my mother will continue to stay with him, which has left me running 2 households and 5 kids and my job and everything else. So, but the reason I was crying is because my stepdad is not just very smart and sweet and hardworking, but he's very, very talented, musically speaking. He plays the mandolin, he plays the guitar, he's a park ranger, and he would do a show every week about the history of the park and the history of Stephen Foster. And everybody knows the song Swanee River, right? Swanee River, way down upon the Swanee River. Well, that was written by Stephen Foster, and not many people understand the beginning of musical rights and things like that, but that's what he was conveying to people, because the park is named after Stephen Foster, even though the song was written in the 1800s and he never actually went to the Swanee River, but he wrote a song about it. And a lot of his songs are taught in elementary school to students. Anyway, just wanted to make a video of my normal day, and that did not happen. Today is not a normal day. I get up every morning around 4:15-ish. Today I had to bump that back to like 3:45 because I was trying to get everything packed up and ready to go, knowing that I'm going to hit all these jobs. So I'm basically doing like a loop around Central Florida. So I'm coming from North Florida, going down the coast, back around, and up again. This is not a normal day, thank God. But these jobs need to be done because my mother's company still has to run despite all this, and she needs to be in the hospital with him. And I get that. I totally get that. And if I had a husband and something like that happened to him, I'd want to be there to not only protect him and make sure he's getting the care he needs, but if there's any changes, I'd want to be there. If he regains some level of consciousness, I'd want to be right there, in case he can suddenly recognize things, because everybody goes through, like, if you've been in a coma and you start coming out of it, so you move to the vegetative state and you start regaining consciousness, as in your eyes are able to focus on something and track something. So like if somebody holds a pen, you can follow the pen with your eyes, or follow a person with your eyes. He's been moving his mouth. He has sleep-wake cycles, etc., etc., etc. But it looked really bleak there for a while. I mean, like I said, it's been a week and a half. I would have expected more progress by now in most situations, but we don't know how long the anoxia lasted. So how long was his brain without oxygen? I know when my mother started CPR, he was in Cheyne-Stokes breathing, which is your brain's last ditch effort to get oxygen. Like the heart and the brain, they work on the heart is an independent contractor, right? Your brain controls your lungs. Your brain doesn't control your heart. It controls your lungs though. So when your heart stops, your brain is going to fight for its life. And Cheyne-Stokes breathing, if anyone's heard it, it's frightening. It's like either a random deep breath or kind of like a gasp every 10, 15 seconds-ish, maybe more spread apart, maybe a little closer together, but it's not normal breathing at all. Anybody who hears it knows that ain't right. You know, like, what is that? Well, anyway, he was sleeping and lightly snoring, and then the snoring stopped, and she didn't think anything of it for a minute, but then she heard the gasp. And anyway, that's so. He was life flighted, and it was a whole thing. And I wasn't feeling well, I was sick, but I happened to be just down the street because I ran to the store for something for one of her kids. And I see this cop. I was parked at the gas station when I was on my way in, and suddenly turns on his sirens and flies out of the gas station. And then all the cars pull over, and he goes past every one of them, down the road my stepfather lives on. And it's not a very populated area. He lives in ranger housing. He still has it, although he put in his retirement papers, and technically he would be retired right now, even if this hadn't happened. But yeah, it's a very sad thing. But anyway, my normal days start, like I said, around 4:15. I get up, check on the uniforms in the laundry, drink coffee, sort of get myself, get my head together, get my mind straight for the day. And then I get my two boys out the door, into the car, and currently I then go to my mother's house. I call ahead, get those three kids awake, tell them to get ready, pick them up, drive them all to school, drop them off, and then I go to work. And I'm right now working on the second unit in it's a quadruplex, fourplex, whatever you want to call it, but I'm only working on the two back units in there. So I'm working on getting that up to snuff so it can be rented out. The smaller unit that I worked on first has been finished for a while and is currently occupied by a tenant. When I finish with this one, I'll be heading to Jacksonville every day to work on another old building. This one was built in 1927, and the one in Jacksonville is either 1925 or 1927. The problem with that is she wants... Day one I showed up. Someone else had been working on it. Day one, I show up, and I had already walked through it, right? One day I went down there to the tenant on the lower floor. It's a duplex, two identical units, one on top of the other, right? The lower floor is tenant occupied. She was having a problem with her toilet. Her toilet was rocking. That's never good. So I knew there was going to be a wax ring. I knew there was going to be bolts. I just didn't know that they had tiled right up to the bolts and then grouted it all in, so I was going to have to chip that all out. But I got that together, and then when I went to fill the toilet tank again, it took 12 minutes to fill the toilet tank. So I also ended up swapping out, the fill valve and everything. Then I went upstairs to check out that unit, which they had someone working on it. He got in a car accident last year, and it's just been sitting ever since. So there's tile, there's grout, there's thin set, there's cabinets, there's I don't know. Things are just sort of half finished. Well, not half finished, just sort of. Anyway, she asked me which one is going to finish faster. This unit on DeSoto or this unit in Jacksonville? And I said, well, can I take this at face value? I said, I'm looking at tile, I'm looking at cabinets, I'm looking at a bathroom that really doesn't need a whole lot. I mean, we're talking about maybe tiling the surround, adding a toilet, a sink, painting walls. The kitchen needs its cabinets installed. Well, it's flooring installed, its cabinets installed. I don't know the state of the electrical. I don't know the state of the plumbing. But it's looking like, okay, so if we've got tile and cabinetry and all these other things already in there, we must be past electrical and plumbing, right? Stands to reason. She tells me, yeah, we're ready to put the tile down in the kitchen and the tile down in the bathroom. And okay, well, I think this one would be finished faster, because the other one I had ripped out the subfloor, put in new joists. It was a mess. It was a mess. But I was at the point where I was almost ready. I had to rerun all the drains for the kitchen, but I was almost ready to put the subfloor back down in the kitchen, which the bathroom was done. That I had done all the plumbing and joists and flooring in there kind of in one swoop. And then it was like, okay, well, we'll deal with the kitchen after I finish this small unit, blah, blah, blah. So I decided, okay, Jacksonville's going to finish faster. And I get there, day one. I have my tile saw. I have everything I need to tile the kitchen floor, because that's what I was told I would be doing. She was out of town. She was in the mountains for like a week. And I show up, and so her texts are coming through slowly. That's why I mentioned she's in the mountains. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to start tiling the kitchen floor. And I get there, and a text comes through. I'm kind of getting things set up, dragging my tools upstairs. And a text comes through. My husband says you can rerun the plumbing through the ceiling. It will be very easy. They don't do plumbing. They just see, okay, well, this job needs to be done. Somebody tells them, oh yeah, it'll be easy, just run it through the ceiling. When a house is built in the 1920s, typically you've got lath and plaster. I'm not talking about wooden lath and plaster. I'm talking about Portland cement and like, not chicken wire, but diamond lath. Yeah. So that's what the walls and ceiling are made out of. So the idea of running the plumbing up through them, you're not just dealing with trusses anymore. You're not just dealing with, the structure. You're dealing with the actual material of the walls. And we weren't just running the water to the kitchen sink from the water heater. We were running it across the house to the bathroom and to the new washer and dryer area. Whole different ball game. Not to mention, none of this has been tested for asbestos. So that kind of ticked me off. Somebody had already started the plumbing and done a real crap job on it. And they hadn't started running the water lines, but the drains. And they'd done a real garbage job. So I ripped all that out, redid that. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to finish this in a little bit.